How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to that car vlog channel. If you don't already know, I'm Andy, and this is my wife's 2015 Chrysler Town Country Limited. And today we're going to fix the headlight, which is actually quite a job on one of these. When I get inside and turn the headlights on, all we get is the passenger side. Obviously the driver's side is off, passenger is on, so we got to get this thing working. Now I've already done this, I've already taken this apart to check the module, and so I know what I'm doing taking this off now. And from what I did, these are the tools that I used. We have a ratchet with a 10mm socket on an extension. I have this little pick here, flathead screwdriver. Both of these are going to be used for body clips, and a pair of needle nose to help me out. The 10mm is the only size socket I use for this entire job. So let's go around and see what I need that for. Right here, in the fender, right up in here, there's a 10mm bolt. There's one over here on the other side. There's two 10mm bolts up top, one here and one here. Once I get those out, I just have to work some of the clips loose along this part here where it mates with the fender. The other side comes off a bit easier because some things have been broken in the past, and this will pull away. So let's go ahead and get on that now. Now, as you can probably see, that dropped off a bit violently. That's just because I think this thing's been apart in the past. It may have even been hit from what I've seen in here. And so not all the clips are good. Anyways, here we are sitting on the ground. Last thing we need to do is take off the fog light bulbs. The easiest thing when it's down here, pretty much hanging by the wire, is just twist this thing towards the passenger side, pull the bulb out. We'll come to the driver's side, same thing, twist to the passenger side, pull the bulb out, and it can lay down. Not ideal, but work with what I've got. I'm actually going to get something to put underneath that so it doesn't mess up the finish too much. But now it's off, it's out of the way. Alright, now that's done. You can see now this piece kind of hangs down here. I went ahead and did it on the other side because we're going to try to do some aiming with this headlight. Now I'll show you what I mean by stuff messed up. This right here is not supposed to be flappy. There's a big clip on this bumper piece that goes right in here. This piece that receives it is broken. There was only one of these screws in this piece right here on this side instead of the two that's supposed to be. And here it is. This is actually the top bolt and the anchor, whatever, that it's supposed to go into for the top of this headlight. And that's completely been walled out in the plastic. I actually had to pick that out of this gap here before I could pull the bumper off so I didn't lose it. So I'm going to have to fix that. But I took that off so I could try to aim that headlight up a little bit. Probably put some washers in there because it is a bit lower than the other one. Anyway, let's go ahead and get that driver's side headlight off, talk about it. So if we look over here, there's three mounting bolts for each headlight. There's one up top, there's one right here, and there's one right here. I hope the light's good enough to show you this. Also, 10mm. Let's go and get those out. Okay, so the bolts are out. Like I said, there's three of them, and they're actually pretty long bolts. So really hold it in there. Now what we're going to do is just carefully pull this out. Like I said, carefully. This might take a little bit of bad camera work to do, but we're going to do it. Excuse me. Now we want to pop our bulbs out, the rest of them. So here's this bulb. This is for our high beam. We just turn and pull. Down here is our turn signal, I'll either twist it out or take off the connector. Okay, so that twisted out nicely. So there's our signal, our amber. Coating's starting to bubble up on the amber, but it's fine. It still lights up the proper color. Over here is a connector for our side marker. That one, it will twist out, but this one's easier just to pull the clip. So pinch here, pull it off. And lastly, this electrical connector here, this is for the HID headlight itself. Obviously the bulb is over here, but this is the connector, and we'll see why in a second. So we'll pull that off, and then the light just pulls away from the car. Okay, so now we're over here on the hood of the truck, using it as a table. And before I start talking about the actual problem, just in case anybody's looking at how to change the actual bulb, it's very simple. It can be done in the car, but it's a little bit more difficult. Still, if it's only a bulb, it's better than pulling the whole front end off the car. Right here is a protective rubber cover. We'll pull that off. There we go. And right here is our HID bulb. Alright, and right here, if you can see, there is an electrical wire. This is the igniter wire. It runs to the bulb, goes down inside the housing, and goes around to this connector right here. This is the powerful bulb that you don't want to touch with your bare hands. So one second, let me get my glove on. I should say gloves because there's two of them. These are the anti-static gloves. How nice and fancy white my Butler gloves here. Anyway, if you are just changing the bulb, very simple. It can be done inside the car, although the space is limited. Just pinch right here, and this electrical connector will come off. Turn the bulb, and out it comes. Now there it is right there. That's your high intensity bulb. Now this ring here, this is the snap ring that snaps it in there. You use this over. So we just pinch here. We're going to try to do this one-handed. Pinch right here and split it apart. Maybe. One second. Anyway, pinch here and this ring comes off. So once you pinch that tab, the ring separates like so. It kind of swings around. And then you swing it around the rest of the way like this. And it comes off. And you have to put this back on the new bulb in the exact same place it came off. Try to do it one-handed. I'll put that back, but it goes on the exact same way, swings around, and clips closed. Alright, once you got your lock ring back on, we just put it back in its respective hole, twist, and it's snapped in place, and we connect our igniter wire. It likes to be stubborn. It's a very limited working room. There we go. Clip, and it's in place. Now this bulb does work, I verified. Like I said, the bulb is not the issue. Once you get that done, you can put your rubber cover back in place so that water and such cannot get in there and ruin this high voltage system. And you are good to go. Kind of give some pushes all the way around to make sure it's nicely seated, and you're good. Now, we'll talk about this ballast. So now here is the ballast, and it's not really all that big. I mean, here's my thumb and forefinger. That's how big this thing is. It's not big at all. It's held on by 4, although there's only 3. I'm telling you, this thing's been apart before. 3 T20 torque screws. So we'll take those off, and the ballast will be ready to come off. Right, now all 3 screws are out. You just pull the ballast straight up. It's going to be a little stiff, and we'll see why in a second. Here it is. There's this red silicone, I'm assuming silicone seal around the connector area that is supposed to keep water from seeping around it and into the ballast. And see, here's where the other end of the igniter cable goes, and not exactly sure on this piece here. I think, oh sorry, I do actually know exactly what this is because I've done it before. This piece goes to the wire connector over here. See, I already forgot how it works. I was wrong. The igniter cable runs from here down to here, okay? This runs the 2 wires over to the electrical connector that goes to the car's harness. The ballast takes the 12 volts that comes in here and transforms it, if this will focus, to 1100 volts coming out of this ballast. So 12 volts goes in, 1100 comes out of this little thing. Very, very powerful. Now, how did I deduce that this is indeed the problem? When I took it off, well, we'll get to that part in a second. This headlight for weeks had water droplets all in the inside on the lens. At first we thought it was maybe condensation, but it just never went away, ever, ever, ever. So, bigger problem. So what ended up happening was water got down into this ballast. It's not in there anymore, but when I took this off and shook this thing, you could hear the water just sloshing around the side of it. 1100 volts does not mix with water. It just does not. So it fried the ballast. Clearly, that's just how electricity works. Now the water's not in it because I took the headlight over to the carport. I took the ballast with me, and I hooked my air compressor up and blew as much of the water out of there as I could with pressurized air. And then I went to blow the water off the connectors. It actually ended up blowing the pressurized air into the little holes where the connectors come out of the ballast and blowing the water out of it. So I got the water out, put it in. Hey, maybe there's a chance it'll work, but there's no chance because it's 1100 volts. So I took it back inside. My wife took her hairdryer and run the hot air through this thing and got as much water as she could out of it. And then we had to figure out why water got in. So we looked all around and we found that in this area right here, and you can't see it anymore because it's been taken care of. In this area right here, it was just like spiderweb cracked. We don't know how it happened, but under all this glue, it was just cracked all like crazy. So she took the hot glue gun, and I probably should have done it with silicone, but I think it's going to be fine. If not, we'll pay for it later. She took the hot glue gun and ran it all the way around the seam where this clear lens meets the rest of the headlight housing. And then she took and went over this trouble area right here, extra thick, paid really close attention to make sure to seal up all those cracks so the water couldn't get in again. And that's what happened. This was cracked somehow. You know, we get a lot of rain lately. It's been getting in the housing, and it made its way to the ballast and fried the ballast. So we're going to replace that today. Over here is the new one, and this was about $35 or so off of Amazon. Came in 2 days. Thank you, Amazon Prime. And we'll go ahead and examine this. Let me get this out of this bag, and we'll compare this to make sure we indeed got the right thing. And here it is, old and new. Now we can see here, obviously, this nice, pretty red new seal. It looks pretty much the same. That's what it needs to be. That one might be a little bit more beefy. I might change them out if I can. If not, I'll leave it. But if we look real carefully, we can see here's our igniter connections. They look the same. And we're hoping that they indeed are. We'll find out when everything goes on. Here's our two connectors from the 12 volt. They look like they're in the same. Turn it over. And let's read it. Now, both these are in German, and these, we translated it. It means xenon ballast. 12 volt, 5DV 009 000. These numbers here are probably going to be a little bit different. They're probably production number or something, not really sure on that. Here we go, DOT 2000H, DOT 2000H, 1100 volt DC, 85 volt AC, same here, 35 watt NOM, I guess, I don't know, same here. So these read the same, they look the same, and it should fit the same. So let's go ahead and pop this onto this headlight housing. And since installation is exact reverse of removal, pop this on. Now this did take a little bit of wiggling and work. It may not be exactly perfectly duplicated from this. I think the pins were a little bit off, but it still fit. We're hoping nothing broke. 1, 2, 3 should be 4, but 3 T20s put back in and tightened. Now we're going to go over there. We're going to set it on the car and plug the connector in for the HID make sure it works before I put the front end of this thing back together. Alright, so I set that back in there. I plugged in the HID connector. Let's go turn these lights on and pray. Oh yeah, look at that. We have driver's side and passenger side. That is glorious. Let's step back. I want to see that from a distance. Oh yeah. Okay, that's so much better. Let's get this thing put back together. And putting back together, exact opposite of removal. Alright, now while we're putting the driver's side headlight back on, I want to show one thing else. If we see here, I'll use this one as an example. We have this big opening, way bigger than the bolt shaft itself, in these mounting points. For anyone who's not aware, that's so that we can line up the headlight, let me get down, with the bodywork. So you're just going to want to, what I did was drive the bolts in most of the way, but not snug, so that I can try to line this up as best I can to look as good as it can with the bodywork before I do the final tightening on these bolts. Here's another problem I'm running into. This is the part that is fit into this plastic crap here, and this long bolt threads into it and holds the headlight in. This twisted out with finger tightening. Apparently, I guess these things come out. Not cool. So what I've got here is a pretty cool substance. It's E6000. If no one's ever used this before, it's actually a really great glue. It's an industrial strength glue. Now this one here says jewelry and beading because my wife does beading, but it's the same formula. It's just kind of a slightly smaller tip for that application, but it'll work just the same. It does have a cure time. I don't remember exactly what that is, but it's not an instant cure. Once it does, it's a very strong hold, and that's what I'm going to use to put this back in. And I'm going to do that on the other side as well. Otherwise, we can't mount the headlights to the car if these things keep falling out. So, here goes. I want to take this bolt down here back out to take the headlight off completely, and this came out loosening the bolt. And it looks like this has already been re-glued. I don't know if you can tell, but this doesn't look like it's the same. It looks like it's been done before. Either this is a problem, or once again it was hit and fixed, and this was the fix. So I got some gluing to do. And so I've also had to do it on the passenger side. This one here, which I showed you before, had already come out, and this one down here came out. Now these, if you can see, if you can tell, don't have that thick black glue, hardened glue looking stuff all around it. So I think that's the problem, is these metal pieces wallow out of the plastic, because apparently that's how we build cars now, and they have to be glued back on to put the headlights back on. Now these two down here, I could probably, if I could find the right sizes, maybe replace them with nuts and bolts. And that's a big maybe, considering the tolerances in here. This one would be a heck of a lot harder. So we're hoping that the E6000 is going to do it. This is going to need a little bit of cure time before I can start putting the bolts back in though. But here's praying that this turns out okay. So to speed up this process, I went inside and got this sexy pink and purple hairdryer. The website says it'll work, so we're going to do it. I've been working with a hairdryer. I think I've got this glue to a point where I can very carefully thread the bolts in there, get these headlights mounted up. I should be able to hold most of these with my fingers or something or some pliers from behind, and get these headlights in and let it finish curing. So let's go ahead and start getting this front end back together. so I got the headlights mounted up, and these pieces here, which turns out what these do is these actually also bolt right here, and they just hold this corner of this fender in place. But they do it all the way over here. Anyhow, show you in here. If you notice, I had the drill a minute ago. I was actually tapping a couple holes into the plastic, one on the bracketry here and one on the headlight housing, where that comes down towards the bolt hole, so I could run a zip tie through there and just keep that from flopping around. Maybe that'll help that glue to dry, cure better. Things won't be moving around. Do the same over here. Just run a zip tie just for a little extra security. That should keep those in place. Not a problem. No one's ever going to see it. I don't care. So let's finish up getting this front fascia back on. And so there we go, it's fixed. As we can clearly tell, we tested all the lights, we didn't break anything else. Have to put a few more zip ties on to make sure everything's held in place, but it's out of sight, I don't care. Anyways, I hope this video was at least somewhat entertaining. I'm gonna back up a little bit. Informative, learned something. Hopefully this will help somebody else that has a problem like this on a set of HID headlights of their own, specifically on one of these. Yeah, I hope it really helps, because I learned a lot today. Anyways, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe if you feel so inclined. Follow on social media, Facebook, Instagram at that car vlog channel. We'll see y'all next time. Alright, so I've just set it on there. I plugged the HID connector back in. Well, that's embarrassing.